Imagine you're 13 years old. You're standing in a museum with your mother on a normal Tuesday morning. Then in less than 60 seconds, an explosion changes everything. Your mother is gone. You survive. And in the confusion, without even fully deciding to, you walk out of that building, holding a small, priceless painting that isn't yours. Now imagine carrying that secret for the next 14 years of your life. That's not a movie pitch. That's the opening of one of the most talked about novels of the last 20 years. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this story isn't really about a stolen painting at all. It's about what we all do when pain shows up uninvited, and what we choose to hold on to so we don't fall apart. This is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, published in 2013 and winner of the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. It follows a boy named Theo Decker from a terrorist bombing at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York through his teenage years into adulthood, as he tries to survive loss, guilt, addiction, and love, all while secretly holding onto a 17th century painting called The Goldfinch. At its core, the book asks one simple question: when life breaks us, what do we grab onto to survive? And is it actually helping us, or just helping us avoid healing? Let's walk through the story and pull out the real lessons hiding inside it. After the explosion, Theo doesn't get therapy sessions and slow healing scenes. He gets confusion, silence, and adults who don't know what to say to a boy who just lost his mother. So he does what most people do with grief. They can't process, he buries it. He goes on. He acts fine at school. He moves in with a friend's wealthy family. On the surface, it looks like he's coping. But grief doesn't vanish just because you stop talking about it. It goes underground. And later in the book, we see it resurface as anxiety, as numbness, as a need to escape reality through drugs and alcohol. Theo isn't a broken character because he's weak, he's a realistic one, because this is what unresolved grief actually looks like in real people. Think about someone you know who lost a parent young, or went through a divorce or a sudden job loss, and just moved on without ever really talking about it. Years later, you'll often notice the same pattern: sudden mood swings, trouble trusting people, or turning to something: food, work, alcohol, scrolling to avoid sitting with the feeling. The takeaway here is simple: unprocessed grief doesn't go away with time alone. It waits, and it usually comes back louder if it's ignored instead of faced. If you're carrying something heavy from your past that you've never actually talked about, that's worth addressing now, not eventually. After the bombing, Theo doesn't get rescued by a perfect family or a therapist who fixes everything. He's taken in briefly by the Barbas, a wealthy, emotionally distant Park Avenue family. Later, he's essentially recovered by his absent, gambling, addicted father, who drags him off to Las Vegas. And in Vegas, in the middle of all that instability, Theo meets Boris, a wild, chaotic Ukrainian immigrant kid who introduces him to drugs, theft, and trouble. Here's the twist: Boris, this chaotic, rule-breaking kid, ends up being one of the most loyal people in Theo's entire life. Meanwhile, another key figure, an antique furniture restorer named Hobie, becomes a quiet father figure, steady, patient, and kind, completely by accident, simply because Theo wandered into his shop one day. None of Theo's real support system looks like what a textbook would recommend. It's messy, it's unconventional, but it's real, and it's what actually keeps him alive. This mirrors real life more than we like to admit. The people who help us most through hard times are rarely the perfect mentors we imagine. Sometimes it's a co-worker who just listens, a friend with their own mess who still shows up, or a stranger who happens to be kind at the right moment. The lesson: don't wait for the ideal support system to arrive. Pay attention to who actually shows up for you, even if they're imperfect, and be that person for someone else when you can. The painting, The Goldfinch, is the emotional center of the whole book. Theo takes it in a moment of chaos and grief, almost without thinking. At first, it represents the last living connection to his mother, to that final ordinary moment before everything changed. He hides it, wraps it, moves it from place to place. For years, it's the one constant thing in an unstable life. But here's the deeper truth the book slowly reveals: the very thing keeping Theo emotionally afloat is also the thing trapping him. He can't tell anyone about it. He can't fully move forward, get close to people, or build an honest life because he's always protecting the secret. The painting becomes a symbol of unprocessed grief, something beautiful, but also something that quietly poisons everything around it because it's built on a lie he never corrects. Think of anything in your own life you've held on to just in case. An old relationship you can't let go of, a resentment from years ago, a version of yourself in the past you keep protecting instead of updating. It often starts as comfort. Over time, it can quietly become a cage. The takeaway: ask yourself what you're holding on to right now that once helped you survive something, but might now be holding you back from actually living. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is to finally set it down. As Theo grows into a young man, he becomes an antique dealer working under Hobie, and by all outward appearances, he's built a successful life. But underneath, he's dependent on pills and alcohol, using them the same way he once used isolation as a kid to numb the parts of himself he doesn't want to feel. This is one of the most honest parts of the book. Theo isn't lazy or careless. He's someone in real pain, doing what a lot of people do, managing the pain instead of healing it. He keeps functioning. He keeps performing normal life. But performing normal and actually being okay are two very different things. You've probably seen this in real life too: someone who seems completely fine, successful even, but is quietly running on empty, using work, substances, or constant busyness to avoid ever sitting still with their own thoughts. The lesson here: matters numbing pain and healing pain look similar from the outside, but they lead to very different places. Numbing keeps the pain frozen. Healing actually processes it. If you notice you're using something, anything, just to avoid feeling a certain emotion that's worth paying attention to before it becomes a long-term pattern. Here's something most readers don't expect: going in this book is not actually about crime or art theft, or even really about the painting itself. Those are just the surface plot. The real subject of The Goldfinch is how a single traumatic moment in childhood can quietly script an entire adult life, your relationships, your choices, even your sense of right and wrong, without you ever fully realizing it's happening. Theo doesn't wake up one day and decide to become someone who lies, hides, and self-destructs. It happens gradually, decision by decision, each one feeling reasonable in the moment. That's the uncomfortable truth the book reveals. We rarely make one big decision that ruins our life. We make 100 small ones, each justified at the time, that slowly add up into a life we didn't consciously choose. Most people miss this because we like to think of ourselves as making deliberate, thought-out choices. But so much of who we become is shaped by small, quiet decisions we barely notice we're making, especially the ones rooted in old, unresolved pain. Near the end of the book, after years of guilt, secrecy, and self-destruction, Theo arrives at a realization that ties the entire story together: beauty and meaning can exist even in the middle of loss and mistakes. The painting itself, The Goldfinch, survived a real historical disaster centuries before Theo was even born. The artist who painted it, Karel Fabricius, died in an explosion shortly after finishing it. And yet the painting itself lived on, untouched by the tragedy that surrounded its creation. That's the most powerful idea in the entire book. Something beautiful and worth protecting can come out of and survive even the worst circumstances. Our mistakes, our grief, our secrets, they don't have to be the final verdict on who we are. What matters more is whether we eventually face them honestly instead of letting them quietly run our lives from the shadows. Theo's turning point isn't when he gets the painting back to where it belongs, it's when he stops hiding and starts being honest, even though it's terrifying and costly. That honesty, more than any plot twist, is the real ending of his story. Here's one thing you can actually do today, right now, based on everything we just covered. Take 2 minutes and think of one thing you've been avoiding talking about, a feeling, a mistake, a loss, a decision you've never said out loud to anyone. You don't have to fix it today. You don't have to solve it in one sitting. Just admit it to yourself honestly on paper, or even just in your own head without judging it. That's it. That one honest moment is exactly the thing Theo spends a whole book avoiding, and it's the thing that finally sets him free when he does it. You don't need a museum bombing or a stolen painting to learn this lesson. You just need 5 honest minutes with yourself. We often think the things that break us are the end of our story, but sometimes they're just the one detail that makes everything after it worth telling. The painting survived the fire that killed its painter. Maybe the parts of us that survive our worst moments are the ones worth protecting the most. That's The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. If this summary gave you something to sit with, that was the whole point.